Here with Ukraine Matters. My trip to a wonderful Ukraine is now coming to an end. It was truly wonderful, and unfortunately videos of the map update and everything got into absolute nothingness because of the technical issues. They all were completely unusable, so well, at least you're going to enjoy this one where we're going to talk about the situation for the Russians and some of the things about humanity. With regards to Russians, they are now having a bit of an issue. Now, you've heard the fact that Ukraine was able to agree with Elon Musk to cut off unlicensed Starlinks from the working on territory of Ukraine, which caused massive issues for the Russian military. Well, now we heard first that there would be potentially for Russians Russians would try to get their hands on some kind of Ukrainian registered Starlinks. People thought that it would be a big issue for Ukrainians, where Russians would in first place hire some people to register it on them, or as we now find out that Russians tried to blackmail some Ukrainians to get them to register Starlinks in their stead. Well, now it turns out that Ukrainians were a little bit smarter than that, and actually Ukrainian special forces were selling some of the Starlinks and registering quote-unquote Starlinks to give to Russians to then monitor activity on these Starlinks and what are they being connected to. So now every time Russians will get Starlink from Ukrainians registered, they will ask themselves, is this a Starlink that has been registered truly by Ukrainians, or was it the Ukrainian special operations forces that actually delivered the Starlinks, and it's just a hidden agent, so to say, that is going to be submitting data to the Ukrainian Secret Service. So it's a big issue for Russians, and they do have some Wi-Fi solutions because Russia has some satellites orbiting the Earth, and they can provide some coverage. But the problem that Russia is having, as was explained to me, is that a lot of their equipment requires pretty big receivers. They're not as mobile and compact as Starlinks, so all of their connections will require some kind of a big satellite dishes be deployed someplace on the front line. Now, this would obviously be a pretty difficult activity altogether, that you would need to deploy these satellite dishes that are big and noticeable. But more importantly, even from deploying this satellite, you would probably deploy them away from positions, and then you would need to get wire cables to the actual positions that will be using these satellite navigations. But more importantly, because these dishes are so big and noticeable, they will be a prime targets for Ukrainian drones. So yeah, having forward positions with internet connection is going to be very difficult. Another issue for the Russian connectivity on the front line is the fact that Russian war on messaging, and remember, we talked about this in a video where we discussed blocking of Starlink, is that this whole communication, horizontal communication within Russia, in between people, exchange of free opinions, and it was ironic that Russia is now suffering because of blocking of technology that was designed sort of for free access to information. And in the same way, now Russians are getting the second blow. Russian fight on their social media, specifically on Telegram, is now causing huge issues for Russians, because Telegram has been used by pretty much all of the Russian forces to send in communication, positions, find and agree what kind of things they need to be fighting on. And now they're blocking Telegram inside Russia. They're throttling connection, and all of the Z propagandists and warmongers are now absolutely livid as they are losing their access to quick information exchange. And the fact that it is happening right now with the Starlink turnoff is basically a double blow for the Russians. They are not having a good time. They are really weeping right now. And actually, there is even things that is happening on the front line that I already covered in a video. Unfortunately, I had to scrap the video, but just wait a couple of days. I'm going to return home to my studio and I will record a proper episode to you. But yeah, Ukrainians are counterattacking on the front lines. Ukrainians are gaining some ground. It's good news all along. And the second story that I would like to talk to you about before I leave Ukraine and record you proper daily update is the story about disqualification of the Ukrainian skeletonist Krinkevich. I think this story is. I mean, he was wearing a helmet with killed sportsmen that were killed and murdered by Russians. And this is not a story about some kind of political message. This is not a story about sports. It's a story about humanity. Because anything that this story tells us is who are we as humans, how ethical or non-ethical we are as humans. If some people find it offensive that another person posts memorabilia about killed people that were murdered by an aggressive power, and if they think that this is warranting disqualification from sports or punishing the person that is demonstrating this, in my opinion, it has nothing to do with sports or political messaging. No one is saying here any political message. It was a guy that was wearing a memorabilia, like literally people that were murdered for no reason. I know it's like on the fourth year we've been listening so much to the Russian and Russian shill propaganda that we got desensitized. But I must remind you that this war is completely unprovoked. This is the most black and white case there is. Ukraine has done absolutely nothing to Russia whatsoever, and it is just the Russian aggression that is fully on display here with them attacking Ukrainians and killing Ukrainians again for no reason. Russia is committing war crimes every day. There is literally can be 0 days on the calendar when Russia was not committing war crimes. And the fact of the matter that this is now being considered that opposing this, or to be honest, he was not even opposing this. He was just remembering the victims of this provocation. He was not even displaying any messages. It was just pictures of people on his helmet. I think this is very much a mirror that is pushed to our face to show who are we as human and how are we treating people that we remember, and are we human anymore, and what values we're having. It is truly sad that this is happening, and the saddest thing is not that it happened or whatever was happening. The saddest part is that it seems to be no pushback against it except Ukrainians trying to appeal it and trying to remember it. So don't be like that. Support Ukraine. Please understand that remembrance is not propaganda. It should never be punished for it. People must remember people that were killed for no reason. There is nothing wrong with this. Guys, I'm here in an amazing Lviv cafe called Mita. We're having a little bit of very nice coffee with some absolutely delightful snacks. It is amazing. I love you. Slava Ukraini. Support Ukraine. Trust in Ukrainian armed forces. And I will see you already when I'm back in my studio with a lot of proper updates. Slava Ukraini.